Before we get started, I just want to thank everyone again for all the support that I've been getting on some of the most recent videos. The first Battlebots episode review has done surprisingly well, despite me being so behind, and that's great, but you know, we got a lot of ground to cover, we're quite behind, so I'm going to get straight into it. This is the Battlebots episode 2 review. We start off as usual with another great Chris and Kenny intro. This one wasn't as strong to me, you know, it was just a little debate about Terminator, you know, in jest of course, but it wasn't as strong, but still, it's always great seeing them, and they're always entertaining. And of course, the fight card, as ever, is something that I was very hyped to see. Some amazing looking fights here. The first fight starts, and it's between Mad Cata and Yeti. Now, I'm gonna be honest, when I first saw Yeti, I thought it had actually gotten bigger. I think it's because the body now actually matches more with the wheels, and Yeti's always had that bigger front wheel, so I just assumed that the robot had gotten bigger. But actually, it's more compact. Apparently now that the team has got Christian Karlberg, there's been a lot of improvements. The drum is supposedly even more powerful, the robot's more compact. That was great to see. But I'll be honest, I kind of felt going in that this was going to be a very difficult fight for them against Mad Cata. Mad Cata is incredibly tough and powerful, and yeah, this fight went, well, worse than I expected for Yeti, to be honest. It was incredibly one-sided. I'm going to give this one about 3 stars. Nothing about it was something that was truly incredible outside of the fact that Mad Cata slowly destroyed Yeti and one pretty big hit early on in the fight. But otherwise, I'd say it's just a pretty decent spinner fight on Battlebots. Get some nice destruction in, the robots keep on going for a nice little bit. Nothing about the fight has me clamoring to see it again, but I definitely gotta say that it was an entertaining way of starting the episode. Oh, also, one final thing, that Mad Cata promo, 5 stars. 6 stars, 8, 10, 100, all the stars. We waste very little time as we head into the next fight between Defender and Ribot. Now, I was actually shocked to see that Ribot was going for the vertical setup. Now, they explained why, but I would have thought with the fact that Defender has such light armor, the horizontal would have been a great choice. But still, it didn't really matter because, well, this fight was kind of a squash. I'm gonna give the fight, I'm gonna give it 2 stars. It's a shame really because it's 2 robots that I really like. I don't think this fight was terrible, but I also feel like this fight didn't have a lot going on. It was very quick and over with. Defender's light armor meant that it quickly got beaten up, it got beached onto the wall, Ribot left it to die. There's not a lot to say, it was perfectly fine, and Ribot apparently more powerful than ever before. Kind of told me right out of the gate who was going to win this one. But yeah, one of my complaints for the past 2 fights is that I like it when a fight can have a bit of back and forth, and so far both of these fights have been big squashes. Not that that's bad, but sometimes you want to see a bit of competition. You know, you want to see things get down to the wire. And so far, none of these fights have, or at the very least, if a squash is going to happen, you want to see it just be a complete decimation. Mad Cata versus Yeti was better at that. Ribot versus Defender didn't quite do it for me. So yeah, 2 stars. Now, can I just thank Battlebots really quickly for their piece on unique new designs? Honestly, this was amazing. It had self-awareness that the meta is 4-wheel drive verts, you know, as time goes on and the likes of Bite Force and Endgame prove to be the dominant forces. Of course, you're going to see more of those, but I really appreciate that not only does Battlebots acknowledge that this is a constant trend, but how great it is to see all these crazy designs that people keep coming up with, and they're honestly completely right that it could completely upset the trend. Next up was Hijinks versus Mammoth, and honestly, much like how it's explained, I thought that Hijinks would have this. The robot's designed so that it'd be very difficult to get a proper purchase on the bot, and honestly, while Mammoth's weapon is much more durable, Mammoth is still Mammoth. Like, I have always had a problem with it fighting big, powerful spinners because, yeah, like, robots already struggle with spinners. Mammoth would really struggle with some spinners. It's had some good moments with the likes of Copperhead, but, like, if a robot nails a good hit on it, like, it was nearly dead when it was fighting Huge. Like, we gotta try and remember that. Mammoth is not built with durability in mind. Honestly, I feel I might be being unfairly harsh here, but hey, with the good comes the bad, and for me, I don't know, I gotta give this fight 1 star. There was just a whole lot of nothing that happened. You know, Mammoth really struggled to get much of a grip, as mentioned earlier with the shape of Hijinks, and Hijinks more killed itself than anything. There was only really like one notable bit of anything, otherwise this fight really did not have much going on, and the win wasn't really by anything of Mammoth's doing. Hijinks kind of just died due to, you know, the wheel falling off. I mean, Mammoth flipping it over definitely helped. Honestly, there was just not a lot to this fight. I really don't think I'll be watching this again. I feel kind of mean giving a fight 1 star, but I just didn't have anything to really go with here. Okay, before I even begin to talk about the next fight, they mentioned about, you know, Rotator and whatnot, and is it bad that I just thought, kinda looks like Link Neal? Like, just put the hoodie and the sunglasses on Link Neal from, like, Good Mythical Morning. I don't know, yeah, you could fool me. Now, with Rotator versus Kraken heading in, I knew Kraken was fighting an uphill battle. Rotator was tough enough to survive blows from Tombstone, and Crushers already have a hard enough time piercing modern robots, so Kraken was gonna have to be like next level powerful if it was gonna have any hope of crushing. And, well, when I saw that Rotator was going with the spinner on top, something that I didn't even think about but makes sense, then I just knew that this fight was not likely to go in Kraken's favour. But with that being said, I gotta go 3.5 stars. This fight was absolutely lovely to watch. Kraken got some nice control in, it was very aggressive. Even towards the end, it managed to do really well. Rotator, meanwhile, showing a lot of power in that disc. Rotator has come such a long way. The big explosion it caused when fighting Kraken was so much fun to watch. Rotator's plan was simple but extremely effective in this case, and the way it tore apart Kraken was so much fun to watch. Sure, there was the slight hiccup where the robots did get stuck, but I feel like they made up for that in a lot of ways. When they were going, the fight was so entertaining to watch. For me, this was a much needed positive uplift after the lackluster Mammoth vs Hijinks fight. A lot better in my opinion. Next up was Blip vs Rusty, and honestly, just getting straight into it, 3 stars. It was kind of obvious what was going to happen heading into it, but sometimes that's okay. You know, the excitement of getting to see what Blip is capable of with a bit of a punching bag of an opponent in Rusty was great. Sure, it was short, but again, sometimes short is a good thing. I feel like if Rusty had kept going for longer, the fight maybe would have just dragged, because, let's be honest, there really wasn't going to be much that Rusty would be able to do in this situation. So Blip just came in, it conquered, and that's all we really needed. Sometimes a fight can just be that simple and still be greatly entertaining, especially because Blip is so powerful. That first flip was amazing. Honestly, I was a nice fan of this, great showcase of Blip. Rusty was Rusty, which is always fun. It's never a competitive build, and yeah, I had fun with this. Now, Tantrum vs Malice is a weird one to rank. Going in, I knew that Malice was going to have difficulty due to Tantrum being excessively durable, but I didn't expect Malice to burn out and lose its weapon right out of the gate. I don't know if it ever really worked, which is a massive shame. Nothing against Malice, but obviously that type of design, when the weapon goes out, there's not really anything it can do. It's not a design that's set up for pushing robots around. It's a design that's meant to hit hard, and that's about it. but I feel like Tantrum saved this fight. This fight could have been an absolute train wreck, really. Honestly, if it wasn't for Tantrum pushing and attacking constantly, we really would have had a very boring fight. I'm gonna have to give this fight 2.5 stars. I was considering 3, but I'm trying to keep it roughly in line with all the other fights I've been ranking these past 2 episodes. For me, this was like oddly entertaining to watch Tantrum go, but the fact that Malice's weapon gave up the ghost right out of the gate, and the fact that Tantrum's weapon eventually gave up as well, meant that this fight couldn't go any higher for me. But still, given the situation, I still had fun watching, even if it wasn't quite what I hoped it to be. Then we got a hype video for our main event, Bloodsport versus Whiplash. And I gotta say, while this clearly doesn't have quite the same level as, the new Battlebots villain Hydra versus the reigning champion Endgame, this was still great. You got 2 rising teams, 2 teams that have done absolutely spectacularly, and that are certainly robots that people are going to put money on to win the giant nut. It was a great way of building up hype, and it got me so excited heading into this. I love these, and I've got to give massive kudos to whoever's doing the editing job for these. Okay, quick edit because I completely forgot about this part. But they did a brief video on Peter Abramson, the bot whisperer, and honestly, I love stuff like this. It was really just a quick little video just about him, his history with Ronin, being the builder of Ronin and whatnot, and what he's done in the past, and how he loves nerding out about modern BattleBots and whatnot. Honestly, I liked it. It was simple, and it's just great to see that BattleBots actively involves former builders. You see this well with the judges as well. It's a nice touch. It's really good to see, and it helps to further that sense that this is a community. It's not just random judges plus Noel Sharkey, which was always the case with Robot Wars. I mean, not to say the judges on Robot Wars didn't care, but now the bonus fight this time around was Shatter versus Sub-Zero, and honestly, when I heard this fight, despite me having quite positive opinions of both robots, I didn't have the high expectations going in. Hammers aren't exactly known for their damage-dealing capabilities in the modern age, and I felt that Sub-Zero would struggle to deal with Shatter and its drifting abilities. This match seemed like one which really there wasn't going to be a whole lot going on besides some nice driving. Not a bad fight per se, not at all, but definitely nothing that crazy. But I gotta say, Shatter absolutely, went above and beyond in my opinion. I'm gonna give this fight about 3 stars. I'd love to make it 4 stars, but unfortunately due to Sub-Zero not really getting a chance to do anything, I just can't do that. The fight was entirely just Shatter smashing that hammer down onto Sub-Zero, but the damage dealt was impressive. It was so much fun watching Shatter go. Shatter is easily one of the most powerful hammers out there, and Sub-Zero's armor isn't the greatest, which actually made for a really good combination, cracking parts of Sub-Zero. Kudos to Sub-Zero for lasting that long, but the fact that its weapon didn't work stops me from ranking this match any higher. Still, another really good bonus fight. They've been spoiling us on the YouTube channel. Here we go with the main event, Whiplash vs Bloodsport, and I gotta say that this was absolutely brilliant, much better than the first episode's main event. I've gotta say, I had a much greater deal of fun watching this one go. In my opinion, this is a 4-star battler. This was easily the match of the night. Whiplash said that they were going to try and get Bloodsport on the upper deck. Not only did they do that, they were able to win that way. Not to take anything away from Bloodsport, while clearly they were pretty much bodied by Whiplash, them trying to get space so they could keep their weapons spinning did mean that they got a decent bit of damage in, but Whiplash has got a brilliant game plan. Removing the spinner to allow for better armor was a genius move to deal with robots like Bloodsport. And on top of that, they even had those tiny little wedgelets, or whatever you want to call them, at the front, so even Bloodsport's wedgelets weren't going to be able to get underneath. It was genius design there by the team. Whiplash was absolutely outstanding, really taking it to another level. There's a reason why these guys nearly won the giant nut last time. Overall, this episode did feel a little bit lacking compared to episode 1 in some ways. It felt like some of the fights really didn't quite measure up. I get that the first episode usually needs to leave a great impression, so that's why there were so many great fights in the first episode. I felt episode 2 lacked a little though, but the main event left me leaving the episode with a great impression overall. Still some brilliant fights in there. As for the bot of the night, I gotta go with Whiplash. They did what they said they were gonna do. They went in and they got Bloodsport on that upper deck. Honestly, that is brilliant. Their control, their durability. Whiplash is consistently entertaining for me every single season, so I gotta give them kudos. They were brilliant. And there we are. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Battlebots review. If you did, please leave a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to let me know that you want to see more. Share the video with your friends as well. It'd be great to get more eyes on the channel. And I will see you next time.